Let's have a conversation. Tell me what you think about the issues of the world. What kind of spice you wanna be? Tell me where you wanna travel. Do you believe in luxury? What's your hidden passion? What makes you so unique? Conversations with Nicole. Conversations with Nicole. Conversations with Nicole. Conversations with Nicole.
Greetings. Welcome to Conversations with Nicole. I am Nicole Everett, your host. And today we have a very special guest lined up, Miss Colleen Payne of MCI Diagnostic Center based in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Welcome, Colleen.
Thank you, Nicole. It is my pleasure to be here today.
So tell me a little bit about your girlfriend. I know that you are, a multi-million-dollar serial entrepreneur, but the president and founder of MCI Diagnostic. But tell me more. Tell me more.
Yes. So I started this company about 20, my son is 24, so just about 24 years ago. I am a fan. I was a nuclear medicine technologist, and I had an incredible idea that I would just look and see so many people come into the doctor. They were traveling from all sorts of places. And I just kind of looked at this and I kind of thought to myself, wouldn't it be really cool to be able to be able to take this technology to the rural Oklahoma, because a lot of people used to come in and we could see them and they would bring a whole family, a whole village. And I did a test called a myocardial perfusion scan, which is sort of like the top of the line cardiac test. And they would just kind of come in. And so that company developed to where we were the first. It was a niche. It was one of the first companies in the country to be able to build like a tractor trailer on wheels. And we took, we had a radiation laboratory, and we took it on the road, and we would go to all of the smaller hospitals, and I performed nuclear cardiac medicine, because at that point, the technology was so expensive that a lot of the rural hospitals couldn't afford that. So we started that, and then within years, doctors would say, can you bring mobile ultrasound? And I delivered mobile ultrasound, and then I became a staffing company for most of the hospitals in Tulsa. And then we were staffing, and what that looked like, you potentially would go to a hospital and my staff would be the support personnel in that hospital. So we were a staffing company. And then I merged basically into a little bit more of the technology part of putting in all the equipment. And fast forward, to now, we've become the only African-American laboratory in the country that is service disabled, veteran owned, hub zone, DBE, and a small business. And we operate in all 50 states in the US.
Wow, that is tremendous. Now
I was
tell me,
cool.
yes, ma'am. So when you grew up, what did you want to be?
I don't know that I 100% knew what it was that I wanted to be, but I knew what I didn't want to be. So when I was in high school, there was a class called vocation education where they taught us how to type, and you could go later on and work at one of the call centers like Hertz or Budget, and you're just sitting there taking orders all day. My sister was in that class and all my friends, and the class was by the cafeteria, so you had to walk by there every day. But you know what, Nicole, I knew.
You knew.
Everyone would tell me, come and take this class. It's so much fun. It's just so much fun. I never took that class because you know why? I knew if I took that class, I would end up at Hertz or Budget, being in their call center, and my life would be stuck. So no matter how much fun that they had in that class, I never took that class. So therefore, when I got out of high school, being in Oklahoma, I had nothing. Because if you had taken that class, you had a career that you could walk into after high school. I had nothing. So the only choice for me was to go to college.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was the first defining moment that I made for myself as a 16-year-old, was not to take a typing class. So my destination of my life would be different.
Okay. Now you attended University of Texas?
I started out, I live in the great state of Oklahoma. I started out at the University of Oklahoma. I
Okay.
graduated from the University of Texas Medical Branch in Galveston with a degree in nuclear medicine.
Wow. Nuclear medicine. And what was your thoughts about what you would do with that degree?
So being in Oklahoma, I had initially started out in petroleum oil management. And just about the time that I went to school, the bottom fell out of the oil market. Uh,
Mm,
and so I had all of these science classes that I really honestly didn't know what to do with. And I needed to redirect, because otherwise I was going to be in school forever. So I had so many science courses that I decided that I would look into the medical field. And, today, being in this field 35 years, I could 100% say that, did I do it before the love of it? I don't think so. I love what it is that I do now, but mine were really selfish goals back then, because I I took a class that basically told us everything about everything that you could do in medicine. And so I was
mhm.
really selfish. I didn't want to work weekends. I didn't want to work nights. I didn't want to do this. I didn't want to do that. Didn't really want to get my hands dirty. So I took the class. I chose nuclear medicine, and one of the hardest things that I could do. But and all of those things were not true. I had to work
Mhm.
nights, weekends, holidays, and all of that. But
Gotcha.
I had a really good degree that was very competitive. It's not a lot of us. I've been the only nuclear medicine technologist in Oklahoma for almost 20 years as a person of color.
Wow. Wow, that's tremendous. So let's fast forward to 2020. COVID hits the US mid-March. Well, a little before that, but mid-March is when, things begin to shut down. What does MCI begin to do?
So, one of the things that happened for us was MCI won a really, really large contract. We won a contract with the Department of Labor that covers all of the lives with the Department of Labor Job Corps. Job Corps is in all 50 states. They have about 121 different sites nationwide. So we won this contract in November of 2019.
Hmm.
And as we started to prepare for this, all of a sudden we started to hear, we were preparing for the contract, but in actuality, we started to hear that COVID was on the rise. And so because we do care for so many lives at the Department of Labor, our task became making sure that those kids could stay at school, making sure that we could secure, and making sure that the staff would be secure. So as we were preparing for the contract, we had to do double duty. We had to also look at technology that would allow us to test for COVID, which no one knew what that test was. So we
Mm.
started with that process of trying to secure and care for the lives that we covered under our government contract. And so by the time COVID became full blown, which was in March, MCI had a solution. It wasn't the best solution, because what ended up happening was all of a sudden the technology that was there, it was being commandeered, it was being taken. And a lot of manufacturers that we had had incredible relationships with came back and said that they were unable to provide us with equipment because a research center needed it, or someone else, a larger facility. So we would
Hmm.
have equipment for 24 hours, we would lose it, we'd get it back. Finally, we have a very, very significant partner that has always been on this journey with me, which is Abbott. Abbott Laboratories came back and they said, you know what, Colleen, they said, we've been here with you, we're going to stay with you. And the equipment that you need, we needed M2000s. They said, we're not going to just give you one, but we're going to give you two of these. And we're going to give you two Abbott
Okay.
machines. And at that time, no entrepreneur in the country was given equipment. I had several manufacturers that came to us and said, um, we have decided that we will give none of this equipment to an entrepreneur. Abbott,
Hmm.
on the other hand, said, we don't see it like that. We've been on this journey with you, and we will stay on this journey with you, and we will continue with this. So when everyone was commandeering and giving equipment, Abbott stayed the course with MCI, and they didn't give us just one piece of equipment. They gave us two, and then that put us on the national task force with Dr. Briggs, because the equipment that was given was M2000 Abbott's. And so we also became, we were on the task force with Dr. Briggs.
That's awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So, you've been doing this work since mid-March. Are there any other African-American owned labs that are processing COVID tests across the country that you're aware of?
There is not. We just had a recent study about 2 months ago with the Department of Labor. They went out and had to do a national search because we had a really big addition to our contract coming up. And we are the only African-American service disabled laboratory in the entire country based here. And we're based here, and we have a location in Dallas, Texas as well.
Okay. And how busy are you with processing those tests?
We have been extremely busy this year. It has been unbelievable what we've seen, challenging what we've gone through as many of the laboratories. And we have done multiple deployments in underserved communities of people of color. We've been on the ground in multiple locations, from Maryland to DC to Atlanta to Texas to Houston. Unfortunately, there's not enough. I mean, I can't say that it's too late to be in COVID testing, because the equipment is so difficult to get, and you had to have a previous relationship or some type of a relationship in order to be successful with that. So it's been very challenging, but we have been extremely busy. And as this weather and the climate is changing again, we will be extremely, extremely busy, because I don't think that any of us thought that we would still be here from when we started in January to having now, because we really didn't go through what we're getting ready to go through. By the time that we realized that we were being affected by COVID and the nation was kind of warming, we are here today. As I said, we are in the midst of an early winter, and now we have flu on top of the issues of COVID. So I believe MCI is bracing for something unforeseen. We didn't know what we didn't know in July, but we definitely don't know what this looks like in October, at the November and December.
Absolutely. With the onset of winter coming in. I mean, we were at the end of winter when it started, but with the new winter, and because COVID, the symptoms look so similar to the flu, I think folks are going to be, difficult kind of differentiating whether or not you have COVID or you have the flu.
Exactly. And we have prepared for that. Our pathologists that we have, we've already geared up for making sure that we are able to test for COVID, as well as the flu, as well as MCI has, we are very fortunate that we have all of the platforms here. We're able to test for COVID, we're able to test for the flu, we're able to test for antigens, antibodies, PCR. So we have an enormous lab here, and we have an incredible pathologist. Dr. Kitra Coley is our pathologist, and she is very on top of that. And then we have a compliance medical director, Dr. Vinay. So we are prepared, but when this hits, we have no idea where we are. We've, the government is still commandeering products. There's still shortages in this country. And as much as we've tried, all of us have tried to prepare for what is unforeseen, I don't think that any of us can really do that, because it's going to be another major surge that we're already seeing, that we're now making makeshift hospitals. Hospital beds are um, disappearing because of COVID, and it's gonna be really, really. I think it's gonna be really bad, honestly.
Yeah. So, what do you believe are some significant factors affecting the African American community specifically as it relates to COVID, outside of the CDC protocols of face masks, social distancing, and washing of hands? What do you believe are some of the significant factors?
I think that there's a term that I heard that best described potentially where we are now, which is it's sort of like almost COVID fatigue, that we've
Mm,
heard so much about COVID that we've stopped caring, we've stopped masking, we've stopped supporting, and the younger people are now more affected than the 50 to 75 because
mhm,
of not thinking that they're invincible. And now we have more younger people, falling in passing and having significant issues and not being able to get over those. But from the African American perspective, I don't think that we're testing. We're
mm,
not getting tested. We are. We're not getting in those lines to be tested, and so
mhm,
consequently we are challenged. We have comorbidities, and
mhm,
so when when your son or daughter go out and they go to these things, or that they don't mask up, and they take that back home to the family, to grandma, grandpa,
mhm,
mom and dad. Okay, we can't outdo this COVID. Their immune system is a lot stronger, and so, what
right,
we've been able to see here with some of the young people is that they walk straight through this and never know they even have it, but very, very positive. But see, if you have a underlying heart disease, obesity, hypertension, diabetes, which is all of what the African American communities are affected with, then we don't get to survive that, and then we don't get tested. So we're living in like a double jeopardy. One, we're not being tested, because the biggest thing is that people are saying now, well, why get tested? Well, you know what, the biggest thing that I can say, Nicole, is why do we need to get tested? Because one, you need to know, and it's not sometimes it may not be about you surviving. It may be about your mom or your dad or grandma or grandpa surviving. So that is
right,
what we have to keep in mind. You may not have that comorbidity, they do. So we need to
mhm,
protect the people that we love, right? So, and then why should we get tested? Well, the most significant thing that I can say for your audience listening, we
mhm,
need to get tested, because see, when you go to the hospital has limited availability of testing, because they're trying to save your life. So when you present, we got to do heroics. But if you present and you say, you know what, I went and got tested, I have COVID. Now, you can watch those symptoms. If your oxygen level drops, that is the biggest sign that you are in trouble. If that oxygen
mm,
level starts to drop, we can take the flu season, the flu issues, we can take the aching body, we can take the cold, we can take a little bit of that fever. But the most significant thing that I see is when that oxygen level drops, that is a hard run to recover from that.
mhm,
So now the really cool thing is that the medical providers have learned they're not necessarily sticking us on a ventilator when we come in. We're
right,
going to hyperbaric chambers and we're doing some other things, but we have to make sure that when we start seeing those signs and symptoms, we need to get tested. And going to the hospital trying to get tested when the hospital is going to save all their test kits for the patients that are actually in that hospital. It is a rare occasion that a hospital is going to set up a drive-through or be able to test you, um, because those test kits that they have, they know are going to be in shortage. So they're never going to try to do a drive-through or deployment. So we want to be very, very conscientious about getting tested and knowing that we're positive and saving the lives of our family and our friends, because that's why this is spreading. So we're not,
mhm,
you got to be a steward of the family and the friends and family that you love. You might walk through it.
yes.
Your mom and dad may not.
Right. Yeah. No, great points. I also think that there are some other things preventatively that we can probably do as well: diet, exercise, getting enough rest. So, you know, I think we need to take, those extra precautions on a daily basis and recognize how that helps us to mitigate the possibility of contracting the virus as well.
I would agree 100%. We've all had, okay, I won't say we had a year. I would say we've had 9 months. We've had March to where we all know everything about COVID. And diet and exercise, we've all been trapped in the house. No one has been exercising, but you had 9 months to get it together. D3 is Dr. Fauci takes D3. You read about D3, not vitamin D, vitamin D3 and a zinc combination. We don't want to take those two things. And I'm not a physician. I say that I am just someone that reads and studies, and I know medicine. So having a healthy diet, eating healthier, understanding where you are in this process of COVID, that it attacks the weak and it attacks those comorbidities. So as you've moved through this system, those are things to make sure that this temple that we have, that you've done the best by that temple so that you can fight off this virus. Making sure that you have the right vitamins, making sure that you're eating correctly, making sure that you're doing your water intake, making sure that if you have diabetes and you have hypertension, get up and move around that house. Even if it's too cold to go outside, make sure that you boost that immune system 100%. Make sure that we do that.
Very good. Now we're going to take a break right here, but when we come back, I want you to tell me a little bit about your book that you have. All right?
Absolutely.
Okay. Stay tuned for more conversations.
Welcome to the Transformation Place, where you come to be transformed by the renewing of your mind. I am Gian Jones, the #1 wellness expert in the world, and today we are learning about the importance of deep breathing on stress. Yes, we are. In 2017, the Journal of Neurological Sciences actually published an article that spoke on the importance of deep breathing on reducing stress and anxiety. In a sample size of 38 people, 19 were in a control group and 19 were in an experimental group. The 19 in the experimental group actually completed 10 minutes of deep breathing during a 90-minute period for 7 days. In those 7 days, the individuals actually felt an improvement in their mood and decrease in stress. Now, the control group did not do anything, and they did not see any improvements in their mood, as well as no improvements or any changes in their stress. So what does this mean for us if we are trying to transform? Number one, we are to go inside and see if there's any way that we can benefit from deep breathing. And if you have felt the impact of COVID-19, as well as the social environment, according to the social issues, then most likely you can. So if you're feeling any stress or anxiety, this is what you're going to do. Move on to step number 2, where you implement 10 minutes of deep breathing a day for 7 days. Wake up in the morning, during your morning routine, complete 3 minutes of deep breathing. It looks like this. It's that easy. During lunchtime or around your afternoon break, take another 3-minute deep breathing break. And right before bed, go ahead and breathe for another 3 to 4 minutes. That will be a total of 10 minutes. After 7 days, reassess to see if you have benefited from this change or from this implementation. If you have, guess what? Carry it on out for another 30 days and truly be transformed by simply deep breathing during the day. All right. Thank you so much for listening. I appreciate y'all. And remember, always press and fly. Press through your obstacles so that you can fly right on towards your destiny. Peace and blessings.
Conversations with Nicole. Conversations with Nicole.
Welcome back. Thank you, Gian, for that transformational tip. Deep breathing. So if you are just joining us, we have been talking to Colleen Payne of MCI Diagnostic. We were talking about COVID prior to the break, but I want to dive into the book. So Colleen is an author as well. And the title of the book is?
I Did It My Way and It Worked, Redefining Entrepreneurship.
All right. All right. All right. All right. So, what inspired you to write a book?
You know, I had been on the trail speaking for a long time, and I think that I believe that if I could do this, anyone could do it. And
Okay.
I kept hearing so many people say, you did it, I can't do it. When I started this company, I made $40,000. And 25 years ago, I think that might have been a decent salary. Maybe I might have made 40, 50,000. So I did that. And I kept hearing people say, well, what you do, I can't do. What
Mhm.
I did, you can do. So
Yes.
that's why I did it my way and
Let's
it
see
worked.
it. Let's see it. Pull it out.
Absolutely.
I love it. I did
Yeah.
it my way and it worked.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, and it's just, I think from my perspective, a lot of the things that I've gone through, I didn't know anyone that had made millions of dollars
Mhm.
in terms of business. And so I didn't, and being in Oklahoma, you know, 25 years ago, we didn't have that mentorship. We didn't
Mhm.
have people that mentored us. I mean, it's more of an East Coast. It just didn't, I didn't know anyone that could mentor me and tell me how to do this. And so a lot of the things that I did, 100% was just trial and error. And, you know, 10 years later, I think that I did it my way and it worked. I'm not saying everything worked, but I will say that a great percentage of the things that I did worked. And I think that if I can do it, my journey is that anyone can do this. You just have to have will, determination. And I always say that I live my life by 3 P's: passion, persistence, and perseverance. And if you can pick any one of those up, you can get to the other side of this. And
Love
your dreams, whatever those are.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Well, I have got to get that book and see the roadmap to how Colleen, you know, is living this wonderful life. So, my final question in closing, and I could actually talk to you for much longer. So, you're going to have to come back, or I'm going to have to come to Oklahoma and visit. But my final question is, what do you believe is your greater work, Colleen?
What do I believe is my greatest work or my greater work?
Hmm.
I believe that my greatest work, this company transformed last year, Nicole, and my greater work, honestly, is helping other women, I can't say that living your best life. I mean, I've heard that, but you know what? People have dreams, they have desires, and women have dreams and desires. And sometimes our dreams and desires are not embraced. And I think that if my greatest work is to help other women know that, you know what, if I did it, you can do it. Because I started probably one of the hardest things that's humanly possible. We don't have a lot of minorities starting companies. Even the company MCI, when it started, was the only diagnostic laboratory where we did MRI, CT, nuclear medicine, ultrasounds. We were the largest outpatient diagnostic center in the country. And so now we're the largest outpatient or laboratory in the country. So these are all things that I think that women need to know, that whatever your dreams is, whatever your desires is, whatever the passion is that you hold, you can achieve that. And I think that the greatest thing that I need to, men have so much support. I would tell you all day
Hmm.
long. Some of the things that I've gone through, I don't ask people to get my lunch. We have a lot of people that work here. That's just way so far out for me after 25 years of doing this company. But those are men operate very differently, and I think that sometimes women don't have options to that sweet spot or the corporate spot because we don't have other people supporting us. So my greatest journey is to help other women do what I've done or do better than not what I've done, not what I've done. You do more than what I've done. Do better than what I've
Love it. Love it. You are such an inspiration. I am so honored to have you come speak with me today. Thank you so much for your time and continue shining brightly as you do and keep us posted with what you have going on too.
Absolutely. I have actually enjoyed this. I've enjoyed you. You are a delight. Your energy and your spirit is it just shines and it radiates. And that is not an extra. That is just real because
Yeah.
it eludes you. It really does. And so I've enjoyed this and I thank you for having me on the show and I wish you much success.
Thank you so much, Colleen. All right, so we have Tallahassee Nights Live, Deanne Williams, our original artist indie spotlight today with featuring DJ Bo Weezy with the song entitled "We Came Out to Party." We'll see you next time.
T&L's on the check-in, often imitated but never duplicated. Coming at y'all kind of ways and shorts with the DJ Bo Weezy, all right? We just came to party. We ain't trying to hurt nobody. That's cool with you.
Oh, that's cool with me, baby.
New Deanne, T&L. Let's go.
It's been a long week, and a long day. Mama's done it all with a smile on her face. She's been so serious, now it's time to play.
What else?
It's time to play. Cause I usually don't do this. Girls, let me feel the pride. You don't ever go nowhere. You out tonight. So pull your little back just out. No stress, no stress. Fall out tonight. I can't fight this feeling. Whenever I throw my head up to the ceiling. First I gotta get a drink in my hand. Yeah. DJ don't play slow down. Double take time to get it. Got me feeling myself and I ain't left the house yet. I'm gonna get 50 shades of a reckless. 50 shades of a reckless.